We are building city-sized machines, and we are buying hundreds of thousands and millions of units of different materials. My name is Craig Deering, Senior Construction Manager with Oracle, supporting their lease program. We lease capacity from other developers. We are looking over the landlord's shoulder who has the construction contract and helping them understand our requirements and providing support to the construction process to make sure that it goes smoothly and we have a smooth transition to operations. The most interesting statistics I've seen, and I haven't digested them yet, were the incremental cost of AI token production. This is something I identified early on when I was working on cloud projects as early as 2013. The key thing in our industry is the incremental cost of capacity, because everybody talks about Jevons paradox now. And as we bring down the incremental cost of producing tokens, the number of transactions demanded by a society are going to explode. And I believe that is the equation we're all preparing for. So to me, that was the most interesting statistics I've seen, were those cost statistics, particularly about the different intensities or quality of AI transaction. In the end, I joke, one of my favorite movies is It's a Wonderful Life, and there's a line in there where he thinks his entire day is about finding savings of 3 cents in a length of pipe. So the quantities of increments, particularly when you're talking about building at gigawatt scale, we are building city-sized machines, and we are buying hundreds of thousands and millions of units of different materials. So if you can save a penny here and a penny there, because remember, the cost of computing, in order for people to use it to the level of use it could have for society, it almost has to feel cost-free. And for most people, the cost of compute does feel cost-free. The monetization of it is embedded, all over the economy. In order for the transactions to increase, not just the monetary cost, but the resource cost has to decrease. That is the sort of conundrum of Jevons paradox. The more low cost we make it, the more will be consumed. And in order for AI to reach its potential, it needs to be consumed at a greater rate, and probably would be if we continue to drive down the incremental cost of computing, which Moore's Law talked to, and you've actually seen in cloud data centers, because even though the transactions in cloud data centers went up, the energy total consumption stayed relatively level. It's just now we're having a logarithmic explosion of transactions in AI, and that's leading to the sort of intensity of resource consumption. And that's typically what everybody in the data center industry is attacking now, that intensity per token transaction, to get that as low as possible. And if you listen to NVIDIA, they're working on that problem as much as everybody else in the data center industry. It's never been a problem. I mean, I've been building data centers, always had big, audacious goals. We work through them. Sometimes there's misjudgments, but I'm never going to say they're a problem, because the capabilities of the industry solves that problem. It's the kind of problems I work on every day. Generally, I think the industry is excellent at meeting its commitments and meeting its timelines. Well, I'm not hearing it. It's being reported. You only have to look at the connection data from any of the big interconnect managers. And so it's there in black and white. But there's also this issue of, projects that are looking for interconnection that really aren't in the ecosystem in terms of having, a customer or a buying signal behind it. I've been in the industry doing this for 10 years. It's been a frenetic pace. I built my first hyperscale data center in 2016. We built it in 180 days. It was a noteworthy project back then, but I don't think anybody could tell you what it is now. It's just been the normal course of business. But the challenge in our industry is, once you have project commitment, you have huge amplitude on day one, and you have to maintain that huge amplitude throughout the project, and then you have a cliff. Now, fortunately, there's been another project, and people are able to jump from cliff to cliff. Um, I thought it was going to be 5 or 6 years. It's been 10. But if you look at the records of some of the top 20 GCs, they've all successfully figured out how to scale and how to deliver at scale. And I commend them. And same with the marketplace. There might have been some structural contractions, and there's been some unintended events that intensified those. But for all intents and purposes, the industry, the supply chain have responded admirably. And I think they are actually keeping pace with the market. An AI factory is a mile-wide machine. And the trend I'm going to be tracking is how our industry is actually acknowledging, that we're developing city-side machines. And the challenges of developing a city-sized machine have been known for at least a century. We just need to realize that we're building at that scale and that we have to look around the corner and solve those problems before we bring a project to a community. It's not so much about community engagement after the fact. It's more about understanding that if you got a 2 or 5,000 acre development and you're looking for a gigawatt of resources and all the other resources, you're going to have the same problems any city has. You're going to have noise, pollution, heat island effect, gentrification, or use displacement. You have to have your solutions put together at an urban scale when you are making that commitment to the community, because that's always what communities have been asking ever since the City Beautiful movement in the mid-19th century. Something I took to heart when I was running projects day to day is the humaneness of the workplace and the demands. The pace is very, very intensive. And so you have to compensate not just with compensation, but also with some more at the community side. And I couldn't tell you exactly what that looks like, but we, even back in 2016, we started programs on site that recognized our workforce had a humane and a human side to see how we can compensate them in terms of workplace conditions that made the intensity and the pace manageable. If you look through history, there's been intense projects like this, and they all have the same characteristics. So I think part of the challenge for the industry has been there's a difference between the way AI builds and the way cloud built. Cloud was intense, but there was a rhythm and a pace and a consistency to it. AI is everything, everywhere, all at once. So the amplitude is really magnified on day one. And so now you're talking about job sites where I would have 1,200 people, and you're having 6,000 to 8,000 people, and it's split between 2 or 3 companies. That's an entirely different sort of human resource challenge, but it's not unlike, in some respects, building a Suez Canal where you have to provide housing, or a Panama Canal maybe is a better. They had 30, 40,000 workers there. They had to provide housing. They had to provide social life. They had to provide all kinds of things. But if you go back to the old company towns at the end of the 19th century, that was the same problem. I'm building a factory. Take Hershey. I'm building a factory where the cows are. I got to get people there. And to get people there, I got to provide for their entire support. I came into this industry taking apart AT&T and building baby bills. So I've been in this industry a long time. In some respects, writing my last chapter, building AI factories. What makes me bullish is I've seen job creation and job elimination along the way. So as an architect, when I started, I was a hand drafter, right? And then CAD came and people said, wow, what about all the hand drafting jobs? And then BIM came. And in the end, all of these technologies have expanded the scope and opportunity in the industries. There'll be structural displacement. But I do believe long term, because even in my day to day, the reason I use AI, I'm a horrible typist. AI is a great typist, right? So I can focus every day on what I do best, which is ask the right questions. AI types up the answer. I have the expertise now where I can look at the answer and say, this is a $10 answer, or this is a $1 million answer. The other thing I can do with my expertise is I know how to ask $1 million prompts to get $1 million answers. And that's where the opportunity is in the future with AI. We all worry about the structural displacement, but I do believe that there will be structural improvements, because in the end, 70% of the economy is consumer driven, and we just can't put people out of jobs without finding jobs for them.